Tonight, stark warnings about the fate of Palestinians in southern Gaza.
And later, we're talking about 40 years of dinosaur discoveries on the Isle of Skye.
Welcome to the night.
Dozens of Palestinians have been killed in heavy airstrikes during an operation by Israeli forces to rescue 2 hostages in southern Gaza. Fernando Simon Marman and Louis Har were released from an apartment block after a raid by Israeli special forces in the city of Rafah, where around 1.5 million Palestinians are sheltering after fleeing fighting in the north of the country.
Now, the city is on the border with Egypt and is the only point of entry for humanitarian aid into Gaza. The UN has warned Israel not to launch a full military operation in Rafah, describing the prospect as terrifying.
Well, we'll be hearing from the UN's humanitarian coordinator, Stephen Godden, with that report there. Well, Dr. Emmeline Smith is a lecturer in criminology at the University of Glasgow who researches wildlife crime, and she joins us now. Hello, thank you very much for your time tonight on the 9. Dr. Smith, this is not something that we hear about every day, but so can you tell us how common is a crime like this? Is that something that can be quantified? In particular, that struck you about this story today?
Providing a slap on the wrist, it would have been really good to set a very forceful example.
It's been quite lenient here.
Yes.
I mean, the men were given 220 hours and 150 hours of unpaid work, respectively, and a 5-year ban from keeping birds of prey. But you think that does
Landscape and Scottish ecosystems, and so it's incredibly important that we protect them accordingly.
Yeah, so the detective that initially led this investigation, he said that if this practice had continued, it would likely have wiped out the peregrine population and the whole.
Lead to detrimental effects when it comes to in this case, should have been addressed by a stronger sentence.
So you think there are much wider complications here than just, you know, a self-contained crime?
Absolutely.
So you're saying there is a lot of existing legislation and falcons are traded legally in many places. So what is the market like for these falcons illegally? We heard a lot about racing there in the Middle East. Mr. Smith, if you're saying that, you know, these gentlemen should have been made more an example of and that the sentence here that's been passed is too lenient, do you think the legislation then is doing its job, or do you think there needs to be some changes to that legislation? Or 2 new drugs aimed at slowing the onset of Alzheimer's could pave the way for the developments of future treatments for the disease. The medicines are expected to be licensed within months.
The charities are warning that the NHS isn't ready for them, meaning many patients could lose out. The BBC's medical editor, Fergus Walsh, has been following those tests.
Well, joining us now is Dr. Henry Simmons, Chief Executive of Alzheimer's Scotland. Good evening. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Pleasure.
Can you set out for us, please, just a bit how these new treatments work? Because we heard in that report there, Dr. Simmons, that the new drugs slowed cognitive decline between 1/3 and 1/4 in some patients. How does that work?
Am I right in saying that to be effective, these drugs have to be taken in the early stages of dementia?
Is measured in a simplistic terms in how high a level of amyloid you cross, Scotland, and it's perfectly played.
And as you're saying, this all sounds very hopeful and very promising. We might be turning a corner, but it is a way of being rolled out. But for the people that do get access to the drug, in what way would it impact them? How would it change their life? Now, elsewhere this evening, a priest suspended a decade ago after publishing a book claiming the church in Scotland was run by a powerful gay mafia, says he is being bullied.
Father Matthew Despard, who was suspended in 2013, says he's been blocked from returning to church duties. The Catholic Church say they want him to apologise for the hurt he's caused. Gordon Blackstock reports.
Well, it's time to get the evening's sports news now, and Amy Irons is with us. Amy, we're still talking about the rugby.
Yes, I think it's dominated every workplace, every household for the last couple of days. A big, big decision that did not go in Scotland's favour. And we're going to look at it again. Put yourself through the pain, all of it.
Go for it.
Thanks very much. Good evening. Did it or did
Isle of Skye in the past 40 years.
And as Ailey Davies reports, the Jurassic Island continues to be a source of discovery today. Now, autonomous vehicles are predicted to become more popular in the near future, revolutionising not only how we travel, but also how goods are moved. But before that can happen, a lot of testing is needed.
As a result, a new trial is underway in Edinburgh with robots being used to deliver takeaway food. Our science and innovation correspondent, Laurie Goodwin, reports.
With some clear skies by Friday night. That's the forecast for now.
Right, we'll head north on Wednesday. Christopher, thank you.
Thank you. And that is all from us here this evening, isn't it, Graham?
It is. You'll be back tomorrow.
I am indeed. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.